The Modern Family. The Modern Family. Let us bridge the gap between generations. Let us shape up the modern family.
I remember when I first met you, I felt that God answered my call. There was that one place I always thought about, and I just wanted to be there with you.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. In the name of Allah, most gracious, most merciful. All praise be to Allah, the Lord of the heavens and the earth. And peace and blessings be upon our beloved Messenger Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam. Dear listeners, welcome to your show, The Modern Family. I'm your host, Hatim Al-Abdussalam, and joining me is
Wa'il Harrasi.
Today we have a very good topic, a very educational topic, and I'm sure me and Dr. Wa'il will be enlightened with today's topic.
We'll be dancing today.
Today's topic is music and fashion. And we have with us today in the studio our honorable guest, Miss Melissa Badola, who is an American Muslim who has been in Oman for the last 3 years. She is an English teacher at SQU. Assalamu alaikum, Melissa.
Assalamu alaikum and salamu alaikum to Oman.
How are you?
Alhamdulillah, I'm okay. How
Thank you for accepting our invitation again this year. And I hope today's topic will be interesting.
Inshallah.
Music. So we'll start with Dr. Wa'il. Dr. Wa'il.
It's very strange to talk about music in a parental show. So we'd like just to make it clear to our listeners that when we talk about music or fashion, it's not for the sake of music or fashion. We would like to explore the music industry and the fashion industry. And I think we'll focus on music more than fashion. Music and the culture around it. The issue of role models within the music industry. So is it really that innocent when we see youngsters or children listening to music? Are they only listening to music? Is that the only thing they are getting affected with? Or is there a lot of other things that we are not aware of? This is what we would like to explore today, really. We won't talk about music being halal or haram. This is out of the scope of this program. And I'm sure that a lot of people are aware of the different fatwas available out there. And the latest actually from His Eminence Sheikh Ahmed Al-Khalili during the Su'al Ahl al-Dhikr, he spoke about music. A lot of people did not know that music could be permissible, and music is really dependent on what is connected with. If music itself is connected with lyrics and songs which are encouraging violence or negative behavior, anything that is against the teachings of Islam, then music is haram and it is not permissible at all. That is out of the question. If music is associated with, let's say, national anthems or national lyrics, or lyrics that are encouraging good behavior, or religious lyrics, the music is okay. Now a lot of people would like to say, okay, we do agree with that, but we would rather be on the safe side and just stop music altogether. That is their own decision, and it's good, and this is what I do. I would never listen to music, but I wouldn't force anyone not to listen to music if that music is associated with Islamic songs like we have Maher Zain, we have Yusuf Islam, who started recently as well,
Zain Bikha.
All of them are using musical instruments for Islamic songs.
And some of them don't use, although you can get a CD without the musical instruments on them.
You can do that as well. There is a musical channel for children as well, Arabic musical channel, where if you have an HD receiver, you can choose to listen to them with or without music. So I think that's where we're going to stop in terms of how music is halal or haram. And we'll let people just listen to the other side of music that probably they haven't heard of before, and which we would like our expert today to enlighten us.
Today's topic is very, very important because music is becoming a part of our children's life on a daily basis.
Yes.
And some of them are addicted to it. So we need to take the parents into this world and make them understand what are they facing really, and what are the types of music, what is associated with music, what's the effect of music, what is the culture around music. So the floor is yours,
Wow,
Melissa.
what a big topic.
Yeah.
So,
one more thing. A lot of parents here. We are a Muslim conservative country, and probably a lot of Muslims, when they see their children listening to music, they might be very aggressive with them and saying, "Oh, you are doing something very bad," and immediately it will affect you negatively. But is that the case? Are there different types of music? We would like to shed light on different types of music. Do we need to be alarmed? Or just take it easy?
And I would say to that, the aggressive behavior might not be in effect to whether or not a type of music is more or less reactive or causes more reactions for a person, because having an aggressive reaction towards a child in general might not make him a friend to you, and it might not make him want to share what he's listening to or what he's doing on a daily basis. So in light of that, I will tell you about some of the types of music, and we can get into whether or not or how much they might be damaging to a child. The types of music that I tend to hear here in this country and that I'm familiar with are the popular ones that really influence the culture of the media around the world, the global culture. And those would be what are called the Billboard top chart hits, and they're generally categorized into pop, hip-hop, rap, electronic, some techno, and some heavy metal. And what I'd like to say before I describe each category is that while initially they may seem like separate things, they might all be created by some sort of label or brand at this point, and so they're sort of intermixed, and a lot of the imaging and the lyrics that come out of them are intermixed with what people are selling in the world these days. So the type of music called pop music, you might know some artists in the past, like Michael Jackson or something like that, and in the past, 5 years, Britney Spears, Christina Aguilera. What you see with them is a lot of showing of dance moves, a certain type of behavior on a stage, and clothing. So, for example, with the female artist, you might see more tighter clothes or shorter clothes, and dancing in front of a mixed audience. And the young girls see these icons, and they have purses and backpacks that have their faces on them, and they start to wear clothes that are even branded by them. This type of music, the lyrics are generally meaningless. We might get into some of that later. The hip-hop has a bit of a beat. So when we've talked about music adding instruments, you might hear a bit of a bump, kind of a beat to it. So the mixing of the lyrics and that, and generally a dance feel. So people in clubs dance to hip-hop. It's a dance craze for youngsters throughout at least my nation, and I'm seeing those dance movies here in Oman as well. So people are learning to emulate the dance moves of hip-hop.
Can you give us some examples of hip-hop?
A hip-hop artist. Well, I guess Jay-Z would be a hip-hop artist, and somebody that would be categorized into hip-hop and rap mixed would be Eminem. And Eminem has songs such as Criminal, where he calls himself a criminal, and he talks about his mother and his ex-wife in negative ways. He's very popular. I've heard him in cars, driving down the strip near Japango here in Muscat. And so I know that people listen to him. And he came from Chicago, and he was part of these vocal battles where people who grew up with very tough lifestyles described their pain and explored these things in a lyrical manner.
Is it true that hip-hop or rap music is sometimes termed as gangster?
Yeah, definitely gangsta. I mean, you would hear lyrics that my mother did drugs, hard liquor, cigarettes, and speed. And
speed is amphetamines.
It's a drug. And I think that a lot of these lyrics are getting in here because people don't actually know what they mean. So yeah, I won't use the most vulgar of terms in the lyrics that I describe, but many of the songs use words to describe guns and knives and things that people don't actually know, like a 9-inch blade would be a 9-inch, or a Glock is all kinds of words that we might not even know listening. As people, I imagine if you don't know all of the vocabulary, it's hard to monitor these things. And children are sitting there listening to these words, repeating them, and they don't know. But what we do know, what we can hear, what we can listen to, is this aggressive sound, okay? And even if the lyrics are something we can't quite identify as being necessarily bad, you hear this beat and this hit and this anger and this force, and that's violence.
From the tone.
From the tone.
The main emotion is different from pop music and rap music.
Yeah.
So what is the main controlling emotion in hip hop or rap music, which is more, I think, more attractive to male youngsters?
Pain, aggression, toughness, wanting to seem like the alpha male, wanting to seem in control. And it's a rebellious sort of thing. In dangerous places like in Chicago, where we have a lot of murders, this makes sense. And not in a way that I believe it should be good or it should happen, but it makes sense that people are putting on this front because maybe they're scared and they don't want other people to see them as weak. And in fact, sometimes their ratings and their record sales go up when they are put in jail or when they have a court case or they're accused of something. So the popularity only becomes stronger as they're perceived as tougher.
Okay, so if they're imprisoned, they're even more popular.
That's right, yeah.
If they do drugs,
record sales might go up, yeah.
Okay.
In fact, it's not so damaging to their careers.
Yeah, see, so, but it is damaging to our society.
It sure
so
is.
This is exactly what we are here today to make parents aware of all of this. So listening to hip hop, listening to rap music is not very innocent. You need to be aware of what your child is listening to or your teenager is listening to and what sort of effects that would have.
And the effects, go ahead.
And the thing is, the cursing that is used in the rap music, it's bizarre, it just goes on and on. You can have the song from the beginning to the end, it's just cursing.
Just the bad F word going all the way through the song.
And the other thing that you notice that some of these rap discs, they have the label of advisory.
Parental advisory.
And our young generation, when they see that, they buy it.
Of course.
Essentially, they want it.
Yeah.
So if it doesn't have the label, I won't buy it. But if it has the advisory label, then I'll go ahead and buy it.
Would you say these new trousers that has been...
Yeah. So when we're talking about clothing, and I think it's a little bit of an old stereotype, but it continues into now. The low sagging trousers or a bandana on the head, these kinds of things were, at least in my time in the 90s, symbolic of not only association with gangster rap music, but also with gang affiliation. And so, for example, there's somebody who was quite popular, and he's called Tupac. I don't know if you know Tupac. But,
Tupac.
I know Tupac, and there is a story that I would share later on about this.
Yeah. So he was gunned down in 1996, and still now people are worshiping like he's a hero and songs to him and about him. And it was an East Coast, West Coast gang rivalry sort of thing. And you can see it throughout his lyrics and in his clothing.
The irony is a lot of Muslims, they listen to Tupac because, and they love him because they say Tupac was a Muslim. Tupac became a Muslim. Okay, Prophet Muhammad is a Muslim. He's the first Muslim.
Right.
So if there is anyone that you would like to follow because he's a Muslim, then it's the Prophet Muhammad and his companions.
Yeah.
And the good role models, and not Tupac.
Well, Akon is a Muslim. I shouldn't say that about anybody, but whether somebody is or not is in the eyes of God and Allah. So I mean, that's not for us to discern. But what I can say is facts about people's criminal records. And I know that Akon, for example, who's somebody who has played in Oman or was set to play in Oman, has a criminal record for even misconduct with children.
Yeah, and then the majority who would go there are teenagers to go and listen to him and learn the lyrics from him and then just repeat it day in and day out.
Yeah, that's it.
So that's rap music. What about heavy metal?
Heavy metal.
Oh, heavy metal. Okay. You know what? I see less people listening to heavy metal in Oman, at least current heavy metal, because I tend to know some of the trends just from reading. I don't listen to it myself, but I know the trends in America. And here, what people are listening to tends to be rock from the 90s, things like the Scorpions and stuff.
Rock and roll.
Yeah, rock. But the heavy metal, like the Black Sabbath and that kind of stuff, I don't hear it around. But what is this heavy metal? Black Sabbath. This band, okay, the guy, the lead singer used to eat the head off of a bat in front of his audience, okay? And yes, And the audience members would scream for this, and it was one of his signature things to do. So
To eat the head of the bat.
yeah.
Mashallah.
What
is that?
What is that? What does it mean? What does it mean? And people still follow it.
And later he got a TV show a few years back.
Is it the Osborne?
Yes.
There you go.
Yeah.
And some of them, break their instruments after the show.
Oh yeah, that's
and all the crowd cheer about that.
That's a lot of rock musicians from the 60s even. They will smash their electric guitars on stage and things like that, which is violent. And the mosh pits, okay, so I'm from America. I can tell you what these things look like. And at a rock concert, people stand there, and there's something called a mosh pit, where everybody runs and hits each other, and that's fun, apparently. And jumping off the stage and surfing on the crowd's arms is also fun. So yeah, I know.
It's
weird stuff.
Weird, very weird stuff. And we are talking about America, but
But it does come here.
The trend comes over.
It does come here, and it is here.
And by the way, everything comes about 10 years later. So the music, if somebody's listening to Mariah Carey or Bryan Adams or these kinds of things, that was popular 18 years ago. But yeah. So what I can say is that there are stars that were washed up in the U.S. that are no longer listened to, and in fact, not many people listen to them to begin with, because if they had a certain level of education, but they've crashed psychologically and in the eyes of fame and everybody. So, for example, Britney Spears doesn't really have much of a following in the U.S. anymore, and the fact that she would be seated to come here and have a large audience is alarming, because it's not only imitation of another culture, it's imitation of a low form of culture.
Mm-hmm. Very interesting. What other types of music that you would like to highlight today, other than pop music?
Maybe electronic or techno.
Electric or techno.
Yeah, okay. Electric and electronic music. So there are different types of techno, and young kids out there might know words for them like dub or house or something like that, and they have different beats. There's one called trance, actually. And what does it do to people? But it involves them in a trance. They're in a hypnotic-like stage. I've watched people dance before, and it's like the music is carrying them more than they're thinking, or they're carrying them themselves. And there are psychedelic drugs that are related to people listening to techno music and going to clubs. And there are things called raves. They were popular in the 90s in my country, where people would stay up all night doing psychedelic drugs and dancing to rave music.
So basically it's music that is associated with drugs.
Yeah.
And being in a drunken state.
Yeah, and I wouldn't say that everybody who listens to those things is involved in those things, but I would say that there is a subculture of people who do both, and then that influences people as well, because it's a college scene sort of thing with young adults and kids.
But if you name a culture to associate with that type of music, which culture would you associate it with?
I would associate it with glow sticks, glowing things, because people do psychedelic drugs and see visions.
Okay. Probably would like to remind our listeners that the reason we invited Sister Melissa here today because she was a musician.
Oh.
And a singer, and she has actually performed in several concerts.
Oh.
So we are not bringing here to the show as a celebrity in music, but as an expert who actually witnessed all of this, to give us a more in-depth.
Okay. So I witnessed a college culture surrounding different types of music that I have just described, and then I witnessed a different culture around classical performing arts, because what I studied was not, rock or hip hop. I wasn't out there in those scenes singing in that way. So I'd like to give myself a little bit of credit. Okay. No. I studied jazz music, and I was singing jazz music. I sang in New York. I was part of a jazz group. I was a lead in a musical, these kinds of things. And I wouldn't choose to do them today, but I would put them in a definitely different category than music that's associated with the subcultures of violence and drugs, for sure. So
what is the culture associated with jazz music, or symphonies, or orchestras?
Okay. So jazz music, I would say, because the notes are a little more dissonant, which means they don't naturally match and have simple harmonies. People have to study that. And there's a sort of, back from earlier times in the 50s and things, jazz music came from spontaneous creativity, and meaning that sometimes the music was not there and people had to make up things. Jazz music, coffee shops, I would say coffee shops, and some nightclubs, and some big band dancing back probably in the 50s. Now it's more choral, or you'll have jazz bands that are experimental with electronics. So what can I say about that? Not a whole lot, because there's a lot of different categories. Classical music is more associated with people who study, who read, at least in my culture, and who use that in a different kind of way. They're not listening to it and then going and shooting people.
So it's more educated people.
Yeah.
Okay, who would listen to it, but it's not associated with any sort of negative behavior. Like
I think it's a form of relaxation.
Yeah, I mean,
music itself, you'd have a lot of people say a lot of things about it. Some people might say, okay, music is a way to increase the intelligence of children by teaching them how to play a piano. I'm sure there are others who would see it as a way to relax and to forget your worries. There are a lot of things that you can associate music with. The way I see it, and I've definitely read about it as well, there are other people and thinkers who would associate music with absolutely anything in the world. Music just amplifies your emotions.
yes.
It's if music is associated with lyrics which are talking about violence, then if you listen to the lyrics on their own, they won't do anything, or they'll do very little to your emotional state. Once the lyrics are associated with a particular type of beat and music, it just amplifies that emotion and becomes from anger and violence to absolute rage.
Okay, beat or pitch or volume. So I could tell you that it's not only the words for me, and that's just my personal experience. Okay, maybe somebody else is different. Do we have a caller or something?
No, not yet.
Okay. Okay. So I was recently in a hospital situation in which they were just doing a simple test on me, but they put music in the headphones for me, and they said, "Oh, this will make you relax, and you won't hear the sound of the machine." I said, "Okay, great." What they didn't realize is that the music sped up, okay, and it got louder, and so my heart was beating faster, and I was feeling confused and scared, and I was thinking, how do I get out of this box? No, and a second thing, I would talk about car accidents, okay? I have gotten, I just outed myself again. I got a speeding ticket once upon a time, a long time ago, when I was driving and listening to fast, loud music. And so I would say that it's the speed, the volume.
It's all associated
It's all together. And if I had emotional issues as a child, again, outing myself, I would sit and listen to a song that experienced those emotions, like a very sad song. And probably, have you experienced this? I shouldn't ask you, but to our listeners, I can imagine that people who have listened to music before, if you see them sitting in a dark corner listening to music, just check on your kid. What is he listening to? Is it a sad song? And is it pulling him down further? Because it's not, and it's not part of our Islamic values. If we want to try and be happy and try and be peaceful and try to have happy, clean hearts, then.
Dear listeners, you can always call us on 24602058. That's 24602058, and tell us what you think about the show. If you call, you have 30 seconds only.
To ask the question, right?
To ask the question.
Not only ask questions, but you can add your own comments or share an experience, but you have 30 seconds.
Melissa, I'm always interested about the effect of music on teenagers. Does it have a really effect on them, whatever type of music they listen to? What sort of effect, and should we be worried about this effect?
I believe we should be, and it's because, once I was...
Oh, we have a call.
Okay.
Assalamu alaikum. Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum.
Hi.
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 Hi. My name is Alan.
Yes, Alan. Go ahead, Alan.
Hi.
I'm listening to your show right now, and it's very interesting, and I'm a person of music myself.
Okay.
And I would like to say something about what we are actually talking about.
Yes, go ahead, Alan.
I believe I was a huge fan of heavy metal and rock music.
Okay.
And hello.
Yes, we can hear you. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah, huge fan of heavy metal and rock music. And what I have to say is the music, you know, from heavy metal actually drives a lot of adrenaline rush into a person who's listening to it.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Yeah.
because I think it's just that, you know, the beats, the sound. Basically, there are different kinds of music. You know, there's classical, there's rock, there's pop, there's hip hop. Each kind of music expresses a person's self in a unique way.
Yeah.
You know, each culture follows a certain type of music.
Yes.
I believe that as you guys spoke before, classical music is very calming. It's very soothing. It's been followed for centuries over. You know, ever since the Romans, the Greeks, it was always a very classy, posh kind of get-together thing. You know, it's somewhere where it comes between drama and a romantic luxury restaurant, for example.
Yeah.
You know, so each culture has a different taste in music. Each person has a different taste in music. I would like to specifically speak about rock because since I've been in rock, I've been playing in bands for rock. I know a lot about rock and roll. Now, usually these bands, they start, you know, from people. These bands start from maybe suburbs of cities or basically from poor backgrounds who want to express themselves in some way which would make other people understand the problem.
Yeah, Alan, just to summarize, would you describe it as a positive or negative rock music? Is it something that is healthy psychologically for children and teenagers or not?
See, it depends because the teen age for children is a very crucial age. You know, a lot of hormones are being aggravated. You know, it's very unstable for them.
Yeah.
Being myself, been through that stage, I used to listen to music, to rock music, ever since I think I was in 7th or 8th grade. And it was bad at that time because you don't know what they're talking about.
Yeah.
You know, they have some kind of, lot of cult, lot of evil within those lyrics. But the way they sing the lyrics is, only if you're really, really listening to the words will you know what they're actually talking about.
Okay, Alan, thank you so much. Thank you so much for your call, and I think we need to continue with the show. Thank you for your contribution, Alan.
Do you want to go with his heavy metal and health for teenagers? Because that's sort of where we had stopped.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you asked, is it really dangerous for teenagers? And I would say yes. I agree with him. The hormones, this kind of thing, and the unsupervised nature of teenagers, because they're just getting their feet under them, and they can escape off to different places to be alone or to be with groups of people, and they're hearing violent words or depressing lyrics, and when the emotions are changing, that can play a role.
Now, before we go to a short break,
Okay.
Melissa, what's the trend in Oman? What do you think is very, very popular?
Very popular.
When it comes to music.
Pop, hip hop, and a little bit of techno. So
R&B?
Yeah, like this R&B. Yeah, definitely. And so that's what we need to be looking out for, probably, and that's what we hear on the radio waves.
Okay, we'll take a short break, and we'll continue the discussion after the break.
The Modern Family.
I listen to lots of hip-hop and watch MTV Cribs. Hey, MTV Cribs. Just talked about that. I can't seem to focus on getting close to God. What's your advice? Stop watching MTV Cribs and don't listen to hip-hop. It's probably a good start. Okay, I don't have bias against any particular culture or genre of music, etc., though I have, strong objections to music per se, though there's some scholarly discussion about it, but I will show you what I'm convinced of. I think nowadays music is probably one of the easiest means to lose your moral sense. Music is audio pornography today. That's what it is. It's explicit, it's shameless, it's vulgar, it takes your sense of humanity away from you, it makes you look at women as objects, worse than animals. And these people are talking about women like they're talking about, an animal, really. It objectifies women, and especially I've noticed a lot of the brothers that I know of, Muslims, that are really into the hip-hop scene, and they're kind of doing the hifz of the song, right? They're memorizing the song, and they're really good at reciting it with perfect tajweed too, right? And so they do that, and it's just horrible language, horrible, horrific language. You know, the only simple response I have to that, if you have any regard for the Book of Allah, that you really think it's from Allah, بِئْسَ الْإِسْمُ الْفُسُوقُ بَعْدَ الْإِيمَانِ. Even the name, the mention, the word of something, the word for something bad is terrible once you have faith. Even the mention of something terrible is horrible for you, it's harmful for you after you have faith. You have to have a clean tongue. You have to say what قُلْ لِعِبَادِي يَقُولْ الَّتِي هِيَ أَحْسَنُ. Tell my slaves to say that which is the best. Say what is the best. Say good things from your mouth. So this is the first thing. When you say horrible things, and you say things that are in direct contradiction to the moral gauge Allah gifted us with, then obviously you're deviating from your natural fitrah, your predisposition to turn to Allah. And when you constantly, listen to garbage like that, then you get deviated. And you don't find pleasure except in disobedience to Allah. And that's a sign of a sick heart. So one has to distance themselves from this. This is the first step. And I'll tell you, this is my personal measure. This is not a fatwa. It's my personal analysis. You don't have to take it. But if a person finds listening to the Qur'an annoying, after they've been listening to hip-hop and this and that for a long time, and as soon as somebody puts the Qur'an on in the car, you know what to say? Oh man, turn that off, man. I don't want to, I just want to talk. And they immediately, they get a little annoyed when they hear the Qur'an. That actually means the shayateen have taken over. And they're constantly making waswasa to this person. Because what do the shayateen hate the most? Yes, they hate the Qur'an. They hate the word of Allah. They flee, it hurts them. So you know what they do? Because this person has let the shayateen, the devils, into his heart, they start pinching at his heart when he hears Qur'an, and he says, I don't want to hear this. Right? It's like surgery, it's like pulling a tooth for this person. This happens. When you try to give this person a reminder from Allah's word, they get annoyed by it, like agitated, like an allergic reaction. Why? Because they've let the shayateen in. To let them out, the first thing you got to do is stop supplying them with fuel. This is fuel. This useless wasting of time, this is fuel for shaitan. They love that you waste your time. They love it. Because the one asset, the one piece of wealth Allah gave every human being is time. And what is music and TV and YouTube and Facebook and MySpace and like Twitter and...
The Modern Family.
Welcome back. Now, Melissa, we were discussing about the effects of music on our youngsters. Maybe we should continue that before we get into the next point.
Okay, so how about use of time? Because using time well and productively is important, especially at certain ages when children are trying to pass exams or get into universities or focus on both their, curricular education for schools and or their religious education. So how about this scenario? I'm listening to some music, some hip-hop in my car. And I'm getting attached to the lyrics. I'm singing. I'm really pulled into them. I can't turn off the song. What am I going to do next? Am I going to stay there? Or am I going to go into the masjid and pray? Or am I going to go into the university and study? What's going to happen? So, the other alternative that I think is probably more likely, I'm listening to the music, I'm pulled into it, I want to call my friend and talk about it, I go and meet my friends in some other place, and I think that what the danger is pulling people away from a good use of time and a good use of their sense of self.
And sometimes for teenagers, if you don't talk about music, if you don't listen to music, you're not part of the gang.
True.
You're not part of the group. So the rest of your friends, they all have the same interest when it comes to music.
Yes.
So if you're different, then you're outcast. You're not one of them.
Do you have this new CD? Have you heard this song? Do you know the words? And if you don't, what have you been under a rock? Where have you been living? This kind of thing. So it is really part of the culture and the clothing that goes with it that we started to describe. And I had an interesting observation, but I don't know if it's quite applicable. I saw that some of my students, remember I'm not from here, were wearing longer dishdashes that were kind of saggy, and were wearing their hats in a sort of sideways manner. And it really reminded me of being at home and teaching teenagers when they wore the loose sagging trousers and does that resonate with you at all? Does it make any sense?
It does. Yeah. It does.
So
somehow, one way or another, it will affect the identity of our children in this way.
It's just going back to what we said earlier about music amplifying the emotions and behavior, especially when you have teenagers listening to pop music or R&B or love songs, which are very different from the love songs in the 60s or 70s.
Yes.
They are very graphic, very sexual, and it just stimulates their emotions in an extremely negative way.
That's right.
And they go out hungry to fulfill their needs simply just by listening to music.
What about identity?
Well, I don't know. I mean, for me, since I come from the West, this is something I've always been raised with, is seeing these different cultural groups. But my question for you guys, is this something that has come here recently? Is this something that you've seen more recently? Does it come from your culture too? Or is it mainly these English songs that are associated with my culture?
What I noticed is that since the 1990s, there has become a peak. We've always had music from the West. Coming in, but from the 1990s, the start of the satellite dishes, where a lot of information started to come in, flowing in, and Western channels before the internet, Western channels being broadcast via satellite dishes. There is a noticeable change in behavior and the type of music people are listening to.
And if you remember, at those days, you had many channels, but for youngsters, the MTV was the most popular channel.
Yes.
Okay. The music channel.
So that forms our identity. It's not only what we're listening to, but the images that we're seeing. And MTV, what about the videos? I'm sure you've at least accidentally seen some of them.
The video clips, rather than seeing the video clips, we actually see the manifestation of those video clips
in society.
In society and in our own colleagues and friends at school. So the effects were actually immediate, and it changes the identity of people because they change the way they dress according to what they see on MTV. It becomes a trend, and businessmen are very quick to export everything here so they could sell. And it's regardless what it does to society, people just sell it.
Do you think people know what they're listening to when they, because they know I hear these bad words and things in different places. Do you think people in society know the words they're hearing or know that?
I think in the past where people were not really they didn't have the command of the English language, they were just following the songs, they were just memorizing. But now I think that everybody is more educated and people go to universities, they're much aware of what they say.
I think even if they're not educated, but at least I think they are aware of the meanings, and we can't bank on their ignorance, on people's ignorance, say, okay, we are safe and give them an excuse. I think if they don't know it today, they will know it later. By the time they know the meaning, it's already embedded within them. I've been to play areas in some of the shopping malls in Oman, and the Omanis who are operating the machines, the games for our children, what they are wearing is very alarming. I'm taking my child to play, and what he sees there, an Omani with a very peculiar way haircut, a very unpleasant taste of dressing, and belts which has skulls in them, and extremely bad language on their t-shirts.
Yes, that's true.
Yeah. So it is affecting, and it will affect our children. Although we don't want it, we don't expose them to those, but just taking them to a play area, they would see it. And I'm really shocked that none of the authorities ever took a step to say you need to wear a uniform because you are working in a place where children are in. If you want to wear what you wear, you can wear it at your home or wherever adults are there.
And what I've noticed is this is my first Ramadan in Oman. So I had 2 Ramadans where I was outside of Oman, and this is my 3rd Ramadan. And this is my first Ramadan where I've been here to experience music all around me. And I didn't quite know that music goes on during Ramadan at all times of the day and on all the channels and in all the public places and things. And so I've been I've been in tune with it. Just, I heard this, or I'm learning to block it out so that it's not the focus of my attention. But I think that takes discipline, and that's something you would have to teach a child. So
it's interesting that you say that. Can you please tell us, because it is good for us and for the authorities here to listen to someone outside Oman, what is going in, someone who has an expertise. Like yourself. Let's not talk about it as Omanis, but what have you observed?
Okay.
I think she has a small research that she did.
And by the way, I really don't want to criticize, because I have seen lots of beautiful, wonderful things during Ramadan as well. But when I listen to the radio and I turn it on and I'm looking to hear Nasheed or Quran because it's Ramadan, and I hear starting from 7 a.m. music on all the different channels, maybe not all of them, but it starts with oldies, and then I get into, and that's encouraging dancing and these kinds of things, which is, I'm not commenting but then we get into more of these hip-hop lyrics and things, and they happen throughout the day, even while I'm fasting and I'm looking for a radio talk show like this one. So, and then going into, but they're, at least I can hear Quran and I can hear Nasheed on the radio, so props to Oman. But going into the malls and things, and the music's not usually on during fasting time, I noticed that, but the songs that I heard in the shoe store and in the restaurants, some of them were actually Christian songs. I used to be Christian, by the way, so I recognize the songs. And it's nothing inherently bad about the values, but necessarily it's not the religion of the people. So, and what I notice is that people are kind of moving along and sort of humming along and singing to it, and that gives me pause, because that made me think that people didn't understand what they were listening to. That's what it was.
Yeah.
Or maybe they don't care. It's part of, they believe it's part of being understanding to and tolerant.
Well,
but it's not the right way.
No.
Tolerance does not mean that you need to sing to a beat that is against your own beliefs.
Yeah, that's right. Because, people of the book were intolerant of others, and we believe that, we all believe in one God, and this is beautiful. At the same time, I wouldn't choose to expose myself to something different than what I'm trying to learn and be a part of and memorize and feel in my heart.
Actually, when I go to the malls, it really hurts when you listen to music that is encouraging sexual activities.
Yes.
And they are never censored.
No.
Never censored.
Can you censor them at the beginning?
Of course.
Can you censor them so that they don't reach to our kids? Can you censor them?
Yes
Because
no.
you censor them
yes
in the mall.
Yeah.
You censor them in the restaurant. What about at home?
Okay, well, first of all, you can censor bad words that people are cued into, like the F word or the bad words. And the radio stations that I know, I think they try to do that here, and they do that in my country. So, but I have heard them, especially sitting and listening, waiting for a movie or something, which I had to stop. So you can censor them in terms of content, but that would require somebody who really understands what they're listening to.
I need to stop you here. You said that you were waiting for a movie, presumably a cinema here in Oman.
Yeah.
And you've listened to a music before the movie that had the F word.
Yes.
And you said that in your country, they would censor it.
Yeah, we couldn't. Because I thought it was because people knew the words, and so they wouldn't allow those words, and there was that level of censorship.
So in countries that are non-Muslim countries, they censor the words. But in a Muslim country, it is very strange that in Oman, we don't censor those. And I think we should do something about this and try and inform the authorities that this is what's being done here. In fact, I've seen the F word in a newspaper, national newspaper in Oman, on the front page.
Really?
Yes, it was here. The same news was actually in a lot of European and specifically British newspapers, and the word was always not mentioned. They just put stars instead of the word, and people would know what it meant. But in Oman, they mentioned the full word in bold. On the front page, and that was absolutely shocking.
Mm-hmm.
It just tells us that we are not censoring a lot of the things that we should censor as a nation, as government, and as community. We need to work together towards this.
So that's the message to Oman. What about the message to parents?
Yeah, that's what I wanted to ask. After a while, maybe some parents would find it difficult to deprive their children from listening to music or having to be in an environment where there is music. What is the right way to do this? How can we tackle this problem? And is it easy?
No matter what role model a child would choose, the first role models would be the parents.
Yes.
Any child in the world, the role models would be parents. If parents do not listen to music, children would not listen to music. And if they start listening to music, it's just because probably parents have been away for a very long time and they don't care what their children are doing. And they don't even know what children are doing or listening to. So my advice for parents is be your child's first role model from a very early stage. And every human being needs some sort of comfort. And sometimes music does give you that. Some sort of tunes or classical music does give you that. Rather than leaving a gap in a child's life, give them alternative. Fill in the gaps with something positive. You could do that by filling them with Quran. Quran is the best alternative. Yes, sometimes you are not in a state of mind to listen to Quran and concentrate. So you have the anashid, which have very good tunes. Lyrics are very good. The chorus is very good.
You know what? It's interesting. And I would say the same thing because I was addicted to music. And so being given a gift really helped me, being given the gift of a Maher Zain CD with no instruments. That's why I mentioned it earlier, because it was important for me in my development. But another thing is, in this last 10 days, I haven't even wanted to listen to that. I only want to hear Quran. And I think that we also need to be mindful, like he said, what are they able to listen to right now? So they're in a car, maybe nasheed, but right now, this is a very powerful, important, special time. And I feel that the beauty in hearing Quran and being in a group of people and hearing that is enough to replace that. And if we could at least model that in these few days, that would be really nice.
Yeah. The thing that I don't understand, normally when you go to work early in the morning and you're just, you're going to focus on what you're going to do on that day, and you find the car next to you, someone with very loud music, and he makes sure that everybody around him listens to the same tone. But I just don't understand it. Why would you want to have it so loud?
And
is it showing the others that you're enjoying it? Or is just being arrogant and disturbing others?
And forcing people to listen to lyrics that probably they don't want to listen to. And talking about lyrics, from your research, Melissa, could you please mention some lyrics that have been played here in Oman, in radio stations in Oman or shopping malls? Once you finish that, I have a couple of stories to share regarding music.
Okay. So when I searched for FM English radio lyrics, I found things, different titles, for example, Jennifer Lopez. And I was hearing her sing, "When I look into your eyes, it's over. You got me hooked with your love controller. Yeah, I'm tripping, and I could not get over. I feel lucky like a 4-leaf clover." So intelligent. I need to listen to that every day and repeat it. What do you think?
Not at all. Not at all.
Okay, next.
There's another one I can't actually read, but this is a popular song that people listen to a lot here, so I'll mention the title. It's called Last Friday Night. What it is
Who is it for?
You know what? Kelly Clarkson, I think. I have to look. But yeah. And she sings about what she did last Friday night. The parties, the everything that you can imagine, and it's pretty darn graphic. It doesn't have any bad words, but we sure know what she's talking about. And some of the words probably people don't, but they're getting a new exposure to. So, yep.
And we have lyrics here from Eminem.
Oh, yeah. Oh.
Criminal. You get damn right. I'm a criminal. Yeah, I am a criminal.
Yes.
And this is very popular in Oman as well.
Eminem is pretty darn popular. Yes.
I've tuned into one of the radio stations here in Oman during Ramadan, and I've heard a hip-hop song which was talking about causing chaos.
Yeah.
Causing chaos, breaking things, and it was all rage, and it was broadcast here in Oman during Ramadan.
Yeah, well, these are all the things that I listened to. I was flipping through the channel, and I actually couldn't listen to some of them. So what I did is I went to a radio website for English songs, and they have the 2 hours worth of songs that are playing. So you can see the artist, and you can see the name of the song. You can type that into Google, and you can find what the lyrics are about. And then you know whether or not this is something you would choose to listen to, or whether or not you would want somebody else to listen to it like a child.
Yeah, there is this lyrics here. You can take me, the grave can take me, the earth is waiting to eat us alive. I love you, damaged. I need human wreckage. This is the lyrics from rock and roll.
Yeah,
this is the type of music that our teenagers or people here in Oman are exposed to. There are two stories I would like to share about the effects of music on people. In 1998, I was doing A-levels in the UK, and a young man came to me, and he said, and he never actually, this was the first time he comes to my house. This was another Omani. We've known each other for about 3 months, but never actually came to my place. And this day he came to me during Ramadan and said, well, I need to repent. I tried several times and I couldn't repent at all. I'm fed up with my lifestyle and I would like to change it to the better. I said, okay, what did you try? He said, several times I tried to leave everything and focus on my relationship with Allah. And I asked him one question, do you listen to music? He said, yes, I love music. I said, okay, this time you need to do something different. You've tried going to the Quran, you've tried to pray a lot, but have you ever tried to leave music? He said, no. I said, okay, that's exactly the reason why you were not able to repent. Your heart cannot take music and lyrics, bad lyrics and Quran at the same time. You need to choose. So I asked him to give me all his cassettes at the time, no CDs, and I gave him some nasheeds and Quran. And alhamdulillah, since then, 1998, December 1998, until today, alhamdulillah, he's a changed person. And he's a proud father and a family man and a totally changed person. So this is the effect of leaving music. What about effects of listening to music? And this is a very tragic story. Also happened to me. After that incident, several months later, an Omani guy who I've known from college never ever spoke to me. About 6 or 7 months, never even came to me. He used to live in his own planet, and he had another Omani flatmate. The other flatmate, Omani flatmate, he was drinking and he had a girlfriend. And he wanted to kick out his friend. He couldn't find a way to kick him out of the flat. He wanted his girlfriend to move in with him. So eventually, he convinced his girlfriend, who is also from a Gulf state, he convinced her to seduce him in a way that when they are together, this guy would come and see them in a very compromised situation. And then he would find a reason to actually kick him out. She did exactly that, and that guy was absolutely scared, and he came rushing to my place. And he told me the story. He said, well, I can't live there anymore, and I would like to live here with you.
Okay.
So he lived with me, and I asked him, okay, where did he get this idea from? He said he learned it from a music, actually Tupac.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
You know, I can't give you my personal stories because they actually bring back memories that I don't want, but I can give you a rough analysis. Okay. So, growing up, I knew 2 people who committed suicide, different times in our teenage years. And they were very into this sort of heavy metal and dark sorts of music and depressing kinds of music, emo and these kinds of things. It wasn't called emo back then, but people were into it. And I actually knew somebody who went to jail for murdering somebody. And he was pretty much into these satanic lyrics from the heavier metal songs. And I'm not saying that one justifies the other or it's an excuse or it happens, but the fact is that if somebody is mentally unstable and they listen to certain types of music, it can have a really damaging effect. So what are some of these role models? Okay, we've got Marilyn Manson. He was reading lyrics from him earlier. He's this kind of death metal-y sort of guy. I don't know what to describe him as, but he talks about abusing women abusing men and men abusing women as a positive thing, as part of the relationship. He talks about God in bad ways, and he wears some white face makeup and painted on tears and things like this. And what this shows me is that this kind of music is coming from such a place of pain. And
dark.
Why would we want to expose ourselves and our children to pain? Why do we want to expose them to these sorts of images and role models when we could be role modeling ourselves and being closer friends with our kids? I don't have kids myself, but I'm a teacher, and I know that even when choosing music, people who choose music as teachers, they cannot choose any of these kinds of music, and they're on our radio waves. And I'm not criticizing the radio here. I'm just saying that this is something we need to be aware of.
I just wanted to ask you, we normally hear that the metal music is associated with devil worshipping. Is that true? And is that a threat to us now?
Well, I would say that, I mean, even if sometimes it is, it's something to think about. So it's not necessarily that people who listen to heavy metal are going to go out and do terrible things, okay? But it is true that there are some lyrics that talk about things that I can't say because I won't put God in those sentences, in those words. I won't say that. But putting God as a person or in a low light or in a negative light or not wanting there to be, there's a song by Marilyn Manson called Antichrist, and some other songs like that. And that means that the message is getting out there, that either some people believe that, or at least there is some brainwashing involved in that. If you hear that every day, I mean, imagine.
Yeah. Hatim.
Yeah.
As a parent, you've listened to what you've listened today from Melissa. What sort of advice that you would give our listeners today as a parent to another parent?
Yes, first of all, like you mentioned before, that you have to be a role model to your kids and be close to your kids. Don't let them, don't let them spend long hours alone. For example, with my daughter Rudaina, I don't allow her to go and sleep over somewhere else because I don't want her to catch different habits. If I train her to do something, if I teach her, for example, not to listen to music, but I don't have a guarantee if she goes out there that she won't be attracted to anything. So I always keep her next to me until she is, old enough to make her own decisions.
Yeah.
And then I always try and censor whether it's cartoons or games or anything, that I observe them before I hand them over to
link them with the Quran.
What about when they get bigger? How do you encourage them to self-monitor? What have you taught them so that when they're alone they can do it?
I think it's all about the basic. When you have a very strong foundation in basic and a belief in a system, and then automatically when you grow up, you can distinguish between what is right and what is wrong.
Yeah.
Because when we grow up, we had everything, but we had our basics were very strong, so we did not get into drugs, we did not get into alcohol, we did not get into adultery. So we knew what was right and what was wrong at that time.
You didn't even need to know those red lines to cross them because they might not exist.
Yeah.
Final advice is please embed Quran into your child's life. Let it fill his heart, and there would be no place for any type of bad or negative music. If you would like to add music to your life, then you can use anasheeds. They are out there in abundance. They are beautiful. The lyrics are beautiful. At the same time, children would learn very good values and wisdom as well. So you're getting the best of both worlds. Yeah.
Melissa, thank you very much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
And I'm sure our audience have enjoyed today's show. Thank you very much, Melissa. Well, I leave you the thought of the day, Wael.
The Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, says, take advantage of 5 opportunities before 5 other things. Your youth before becoming old, your health before your illness, your wealth before poverty, your leisure before your haste, and your life before your death.
Dear listeners, I'm Hatim Al-Absalam.
I'm Wael Harasi.
Assalamu alaikum. Assalamu alaikum.
The Modern Family. Let us bridge the gap between generations. Let us shape up the modern family. The Modern Family. The Modern Family. Join the discussion and give us your feedback. Live with Hatim Al-Absalam and Dr. Wael Al-Harasi. The Modern Family.
I had a great feeling.